I'm sorry. I was pulling up my email, and of course, I've got 15 emails with student may be withdrawn. Student did not attend class. Your attendance has not been turned in. Whatever. All that's BS. You're in freaking college. I don't know why I have to do all that, so I don't do it. I'm sorry. Okay. So, this is 2.1, 9/4. Number 9 in the book, number 4 online. And I think this is the one that's kind of quirky. Yeah. This, go ahead and write this down. It's not a good question. All right. I'm going to blow it up, not so you can see it, so I can see the dadgum graph, because the graph, you can't blow it up. So, there. Go ahead, and I want you to write that graph down too. And I want you to put on there that this is kind of an ambiguous question. What do you mean ambiguous? Well, it doesn't line up right. The question asks you to round to the nearest whole number. It doesn't say round to the nearest tens. Okay? If everybody will look at that bottom bar, does it touch 70? No, it doesn't. I'll take my handy-dandy line maker. Well, that's not it. That sucks. I'll take my handy-dandy line maker, and I'm going to put a vertical line on 70. Everybody with me? That's about as close as I can get it. Is that blue line touch my black line? All right. The question says round to the nearest whole number. Doesn't say round to the nearest 10, does it? So this question is not valid. All right. This question should say either round to the nearest tens, or they need to change this to 68 or 69%. Does everybody see what I'm saying? Now, when you get this question in your homework, go ahead and put 70%, because that's the right answer. I think it is. So has anybody had this question before? Nope or yes? What? Yep. Okay. What was the answer on this part right here? 70%? Yeah, they got it right, I think. And this is 61. No, and that's kind of backwards too. Now this one's right, because it says round to the nearest million. But they're contradicting themselves, because in the first one, they say, okay, round to the nearest tens. And they rounded 68 or 69% to 70. In B, what is the morally wrong? Does it look like, let's move that one. Let's copy it. I'm going to show y'all. I ain't had training. I'm going to show y'all. I taught myself how to do this. Okay. Well, it's supposed to copy, paste. I got to paste. There we go. I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to put it, okay, does that line stop at 20%? No. But in this question, you're not supposed to round to the nearest tens. You're supposed to use 22%. You see where I'm talking about this question is not valid? It's asking one thing in one part of the question, and then it turns around and it's ambiguous on the other thing, and you're just supposed to guess whether, am I supposed to use 68% here or 69, or am I supposed to use 20% since we use 70% in A? You see what I'm talking about? Okay, nobody sees what I'm talking about. I appreciate your input. Thank you very much. Are y'all just all confused, or y'all just don't want to talk? Thank you. I appreciate the both. Whoever said that. Okay, I'll start over again. All right. About how would you answer this question right here? Answer that. Would you say 68, 69, or 70%? You would say 69. All right. Well, why did they raise to the 70? Why did they do that? I don't know. Because right here it says round to the nearest whole number. Now, you could say, well, it's 69. I'm going to raise it to 70. Well, that's raising to the nearest what? The nearest tens. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? They're not, this should say round to the nearest tens. Because that could easily fall at 65%. If it was 65% and it said raised to the nearest whole number, you would say 65%. But if it was round to the nearest 10, you would say 70%. Now, I have no way of telling if this is correct or not because I'm trying to, I don't know why it won't let me, boy, this keeps coming up. It's not supposed to. I want to hit the cursor. I want the cursor. $2,050, I'm hoping. No, it's not going to let me in. And then here, okay, if you take that same mentality now of raising 69 to 70, everybody with me? Since you don't have any directions, you as humans say, well, they went to 70 on the A, so I'm going to do 20 on B. Do you see what I'm saying? But they didn't. They changed horses in midstream. They said, okay, we'll take 70 for the first one, and then we're going to ask you to use 22 on the second one. So I would not give you this question on a test. I would make sure it was corrected first. Somebody get your calculators out because we're going to use your calculators today. Go ahead and multiply 20%, 0.2 times, what is it, 279 million? What is it? Yeah. Multiply 0.2 times 79 million. 279 million. What do you get? You're going to get 5,800,000 or 580,000. I can't remember which one it is. All right? 5,800,000, right? And that's wrong. Because if you type in 5,800,000, it's going to mark it wrong. If you round to the nearest million, 5 million, I don't forget what I said, 5,800,000 is close to 6 million. Everybody with me? Or whatever. The whole point is it doesn't come out right. Now take 0.22 and multiply by 279,000. And what does it come up to? 61 million. I think it's 58 million. The first one comes up to 58 million, I think. Okay? Round 58 million to the nearest million. It'd be 58 million. Everybody with me? And 58 million is wrong. So, hit final check. So, write down A. The answer is 68 or 69, but they want 70. They want you to round up to the nearest tens, even though the question says to the nearest whole. And in the second part, they don't want you to round to the nearest tenth. They want you to use exactly 0.22. Now, hopefully you can understand why I have a problem with this question. It's not consistent. So, oh Lord. Okay, are we using test scores or are we using already obtained data? We're using already obtained data. Somebody's already done this. So that's what? Descriptive is those daggum test scores. Inferential is somebody else's. And we are making predictions based on somebody else's. When you take your test scores, are you making a prediction what your next test score is going to be? Are you making an assessment of your grade? Assessment. So which one does inferential do? Makes a prediction. Man, you feel good about yourself. Not a good question. I mean, I'm glad you sent it in because I'm glad I'm aware of it now. But what I would do is I would say round to the nearest tens. And here I would say, you know, if you round to the nearest tens here, then I would say it here as far as, personally, I think what they ought to change is they ought to say, if there's 279 million, how many think that the action is morally acceptable? Does everybody see what I'm saying? I don't know if they mistyped this sentence, but if you're going to write down the actual percentage right here, this question should follow this question. Everybody with me? So I don't think the question is correct. So might be one of those that you can send to your publisher. Ask the publisher and say, why are you asking me to round to the nearest tens here, and then you expect for me to round to the exact point here? Nobody's going to do it, so I just thought I'd suggest it. Question. All right, so that's that one. I covered that with the class yesterday. And this is a good test question, although it's got way too many numbers. But make sure you can do this one on a test. I'll give you like 10 numbers. I'm not going to do this. Now, we're not doing this on a calculator because that's just whips and chains right there. I mean, you need to learn how to use the Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But on a test, I would not ask you to do, how many are these? 51? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 times 8 is 48. 49, 50, 51, yes. Okay, so here we go. Click on this little doodad right here. This is a trick I learned in the war. Click on that little doodad. Open in Excel. Now, you could copy that, copy the clipboard, and post it in your, don't y'all have Chromebooks? And everything's backwards from Word, pretty much. Okay, Office, whatever. So you can pretty much, now you could open it in StatCrunch also, and you could have StatCrunch do the math for you. Okay? So either one of these will work for your individual. Open in Excel. Allow, I don't know why I had, I've already opened it, that's why, duh. And there it is. Everybody with me? Now the first thing you got to do is put it in order. So you highlight the whole column. I mean, don't tap on A, that'll highlight to infinity, okay? Just highlight down to 51. And then hit the data and A to Z. And they're sorted. Okay, now let's minimize this. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to minimize this, move this over, minimize this, move that over. You're welcome. I'm trying to do this where y'all can see everything. There we go. And the classes are based on hundreds, right? 100 to 90. So the class width is 100. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm not going to do the classes. I'm just going to start at 100. So let's go over here and let's highlight. So let me go back, make that there, go down, make that there, go up. All right, so 100 to 199, and we'll color those yellow. And then 200 to 299, we'll color those per day. Dang old. That's Amarillo. Amarillo. Yeah, Amarillo. I always think of Amarillo. Dang old town. All right, 300. And we'll color that. Dang old Parlez-vous français bleu. And 400 to 499. We'll color that gray. And then 500 to 599. We'll color that burnt ass orange. And 600 to 699. Dang old red, orange, or whatever that is. And then color that aqua. And then we'll leave that white. Now, white is not a color. It's the absence of color, but we'll go ahead and, or is black. Black's the absence of color. White is all the colors, right?
Depends on if you're doing it science or like
something like
art.
That. Huh?
It depends on if you're doing it like science-wise or like art-wise.
I think science is what I'm trying to say.
And then
Okay.
white is all the colors.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, good job. I'm usually I usually don't expect anybody to answer with something like that. Okay, wow. All right, so how many we got with the first class? 4. All right, how many we got with the second one? Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17? Now, I got 3 degrees. I realize I can take 21 and subtract 4 from it. I realize that. Okay? All right? But are you always going to have those numbers on the side of your notebook paper? So you have to count. All right? All right, next one. Blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not 8? I think 8. You can check it when I go back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 5 and 7. 5 and 7. 5 and 7. And then we've got, and I think we got 1 at 700. I better label these. Let's go, let's see, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, oops, and 1,100. How far do we go up? I can't remember. Well, that's 1,300. So 11, 1,200, and 1,300. And 1,300 gets 1, and the rest of them get zilch. Now you go over here. That's the frequency distribution. And now we go over here and we got to do the relative frequency. So that would be put up here, n is equal to 51. Everybody with me? And this will be equals 4, that number, look, got to hit equals. This number divided by this number, F4. Foxtrot 4 locks at 51, so it doesn't follow all the way down. For some of you that know what I'm talking about, if you don't worry about it, just hit F4. And there are your percentages. So you can actually do the Excel spreadsheet a whole lot faster than you can do your calculator. Have you tried to type in those 51 numbers? It's a pain. So I would highly suggest you might want to think about using an Excel spreadsheet. And like I told the class yesterday, if you don't know how to use either, what do y'all call it, Chromebook? It's called Worksheet or something like that, or Chrome Sheet or something. If you don't know how to work that or something like this before you graduate college, you're going to be in trouble. Because this is one of the most used applications besides PowerPoint there is as far as the office, whether you're in an office to yourself or whether you're in an office with a bunch of people. If you're using a computer, you're going to use Excel and you're going to use PowerPoint in the office arena. Okay? Question on that one. Now let's go to your handy dandy calculator. Everybody get your calculators out. We're going to type in 15 numbers. And I'm just going to make them up, so you can make yours up. Hit Stat. You got to turn it on first. Hit Stat and Edit. And when you hit Stat and Edit, here's your spreadsheet. There's your spreadsheet right there. Now you use the spreadsheet, the columns, just like you use the Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to type in 15 numbers. I have no idea how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'll be dang. I can't believe I did that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 15. I was right, 15. Well, I'm surprised. Now I got to put them in order. Now, of course, some of y'all created the calculator, but some of y'all didn't. So we're going to hit Stat and Sort A. Now, what do you think A stands for? Anybody know? Dang old ascending. What do you think D stands for? Dang old descending. So we want it ascending. So make sure you hit A. Now, whenever you're wanting to do something with a column in your calculator, you have to tell it which column. It automatically defaults to your A column, which is L1. Your L1 subscripts, whatever, are above number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and so on. So look at your bottom of your calculator at number 1, and up in the top left-hand corner of number 1, you should see L1. So hit Shift L1, or second L1, which is 1, and close parentheses. And hit Enter, and it's done. No yawning in class. No sneezing either. I saw somebody sneeze a while ago. All right, so now I'm going to Stat, and I hit the wrong button. Stat, Edit, and it's a miracle. All your numbers are sorted. Now you know how to sort. Now I'm going to show you a trick I learned in the war. You can actually go into Stat, Calculate, and hit First Variable Statistic. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. And it automatically defaults to L1, and you can hit Calculate. And you feel good about yourself. Now we're going to be using this in Chapter 3. So make sure you write down in your notes X bar and SX. I used to give an analogy for SX, but people were offended, so I quit. Y'all can figure it out. You know, it's your gender, but, you know, people got offended. SX, that's your standard deviation. Okay? And go down, and here is your 5-number summary, which we're going to use in Chapter 3. Now, what if you don't see your 5-number summary? Some of you may not, because your calculator's been turned off. So, you go to handy dandy, write this down. If something is turned off, if everybody else sees this and you don't, either you got an OA calculator or you need to turn everything on. The way you do that is you hit second, 0, and go down to Diagnostic. You can hit D if you want to, but just go down to Diagnostic and turn Diagnostic on. Dang old Diagnostic. Diagnostic means dang old put everything on the menu. On the screen. Hit on, enter again, and it's turned on, and now you should go back and see everything. If you don't see everything after that, that means you got an OA computer, calculator. That means old attitude. Don't want to say donkey because that may offend somebody. Dang old Terminator, dang old Judgment Day. And there it is, 5-number summary. Now, if you want to look at data points, you can go and hit Stat, go to Calculate, Linear Regression. Hit Enter, and it's going to ask for L1. Shouldn't ask for L2. Oh, yeah, it has to have an X and a Y. But that's where you go and do that. I'm sorry. My bad. Can't do that with just one set of points. I don't use the calculator much, you can tell. Any questions on the calculator? So now you could spend a half an hour typing in 51 of those numbers, and if you get one of them wrong, guess what? The whole problem's wrong. Somebody's moving. What happens? Every time something happens with an outside person Skyping in, it scares the crap out of us. Who's moving around in there? That's Miss Hamby. Miss Hamby, you okay? You ain't fainting, are you?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. You all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So everybody good with your calculator? Now let's look at those other questions because they were sent in this morning. So, and they're gonna ask for. Let's type in. Somebody give me the numbers. What's the numbers? And I'll show you what the rest of the question asks. Okay, forget it. Y'all not gonna talk. We're not gonna do it. I'm getting tired of trying to get y'all to talk. I'm gonna start coming in here and doing nothing but math 120% of the time. By God, you'll start talking then. All right, that's number 6. Okay, let's do this one. 2.2, 9 in the book, and 6 online. Let me tell you if it's a test question or not. Okay, it looks like a test question, but these people with this book have a A through F, really? An experiment was conducted which 2 fair dice were thrown 100 times. The sum of the pips, I guess that's the name of the dots. I don't know why we can't call them dots. The sum of the pips showing on the dice was then recorded. The frequency histogram to the right gives the results. There it is. Let's go ahead and draw a curve on that thing so we can at least, we know that the middle probably right in here. So it looks like a little bit skewed what? Left, because all the data is on the right. So it's just a little bit skewed left. Just a little bit. I think I saw where it was asking what it is. And what was the most frequent outcome? Well, that was this one right here at 9 because it's got the highest point. So 9 would be the answer there. What is the least frequent? Dang old 2. How many times did we observe an 8? Well, let's take our handy dandy. I'm going to blow it up a little bit. I will as soon as I can get this thing to work. There we go. And we're going to move this right there. It'd be so much easier if everything was configured the way it's supposed to be configured. But we got 2050 to wait on that. All right, so I'm going to take a straight line. And I think that's pretty straight. And I'm going to move it. What number were they asking?
8.
8? So 8 is right there. So we know that one right there is 15. I would say 17. Why didn't I say 18? Hell, I don't know. I just said 17. What do y'all think? Let me erase the little. I don't think it's quite halfway, is it? And halfway would be what, 17 and a half? Or I think it's 17. So let's see what the answers, let's see what they, I don't know if that's what they're asking or not. Oh my gosh. Okay, 17, they must have got it right. How many more 5s were observed? Wait a minute. How many more 5s were observed than 11s? That don't sound right, does it? It doesn't sound right at all. So how many more 5s were observed? So here's 5s. Let's just go with 5s. 5s is right there, 10. And then let's take a handy dandy copy and paste. And what's the other number they want? I'm sorry, what?
11.
11. 11 would be right there. So I think 7 and 10. Maybe 3. Now, should they have a variance there in the answer? Yes. They should have a variance of 1 at least. But they don't. So, not a very good. Let's see what the answer. They said the answer is 4. And the person that sent this, oh, forget it. I was going to try to see. I was wanting to see what their answer was, but I don't think I'm going to be able to see it. There. Okay, they said 8. I don't think that's, I think they just read it wrong. Okay, so, and the last one, determine the percentage of an 8 that was observed. Well, you got to add up all the numbers. Now, it may say it right there. Yeah, 100 times. So, 8, how many times was 8 observed? 8 was observed 17. We said 17, so 17 times 0.17 is 17 times 100, or 17 divided by 100 is 0.17. And you can see that some of the things that this stuff is doing doesn't make any sense. And which one is it? Skewed left. Because most of the data is to the right of the center. How do you know what the center is? What's 12 plus 2? 14. 14 divided by 7, or 14 divided by 2 is 7. And that's called the mid-range. We're going to get to that if we ever freaking get to chapter 3. If we ever get there. All right? Question on that one. I like the question. I don't like the one. I think they ought to put a variance on that 4. They ought to put a 3 or a 4 because I came up with 4. I meant 3. But you could say that was easily 6 or 7. Just like Mr. Ramsey, the question you sent. Were you here when we went over your questions? Were you here early? I don't remember seeing you. Oh, you had your hat on. Okay, I didn't see you. You here? You've been here all the time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just didn't see you. All right. But that's kind of like the question you sent. So, next question. I hope that helped answer your question. I'll be so glad to get to the math questions. But this is normal. Got to go through the vocabulary. That's that one. This is number 11/7. And let me get rid of all this junk. Following frequency histogram bar chart. All right, let's find the mid-range. What's 160 plus 60? 220, 110. So 110 is the center. So let's draw a handy-dandy straight line. It's easier for me to use the mouse because that board's not configured. So 110, I said, is the center. So this one is very you got a normal distribution with a very, very, very slight, what? Skewed right. Okay? Very, very, very skewed, very, very lightly skewed right. I would say it's a normal distribution or very close. How many students were sampled? Well, you got to add them all up. 1 plus 2 is 3, 16, 58, 58 and 55, 44. You add all those up, you get what? 200. Determine the class width. Well, what does the class width look like? Looks like 10. 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69. It looks like 10. I don't know. It may be 9. Because that's why you got to be careful. That's why you got to be careful. It's probably going to be 9. Okay, it's 10. Because 60, there's 10 spaces between these. You got to count on your fingers. And I hate to say that, but you do. Identify the classes and their frequencies. Choose the correct. Oh my Lord. Just draw a table. This is, I mean, how complicated can you get? Just draw a table. This thing, this board is about, well, it's not the right board that goes with this Epson. The software here is like 10 years old, and the Epson is like 3 years old. So, but 2050, hopefully. So 60 to 69 is how many? 1. I'm just going to put 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, and is that it? 160. And then write down 1, 2, 13, 42, 55, 44, 29, down to what? 2? Or 2 is 150. Okay, so you don't need 160. Now, whichever one you want to, and that'll be 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and so on. So whichever one that is, I'm not going to go through and read all that. What is in Bravo? So B is in Bravo. And final check. Thank you. And continue. How many parts does it have? A through Z? My gosh. All right. I don't like to give these. Which class has the highest frequency? Well, that would be 100 to 109. Which class has the lowest frequency? Delta. What percent of students has an IQ of at least 30? At least 130 means what? That's the lowest number. So 130 would be right here. 9, 12, 14 divided by, how many did we say it was? So somebody, what do you get? Dang old 0.77%? Was it 7? Yes, Hubert. Thank you, class. Did any students have an IQ of 168? That would be hell to the no. And the reason it is because what? There's no numbers out here. So whichever one says no, because it goes to 159. So, or you could say because there's no IQ greater than 160. I believe it's that one, but I'm not a lawyer, so there you go. Is that finally it? Okay. Next. I don't like questions more than C or D. After C or D, it gets a little bit ridiculous. And the middle one's left. The middle one is 2.233/11. 33/11. We already did this one, didn't we? Yeah. So I'm gonna let y'all, since you watch the video, I'm not going through that again, okay? Because it's hard to put it on there. I want to get to chapter 3. We did finish 2.2, right? And 2.3 with the graphs, and I told you to look for the soccer ball, the OIL barrel, and the crib with the bottles that doesn't equal 100%, and a pie graph that doesn't equal 100%. Did I tell y'all that? Okay. Now, 8:55, so we still got a few more minutes. I want to move in to chapter 3. Now, I'm going to move into chapter 3, and I'm going to do about 3 or 4 sections with just one problem. Okay, so I'm going to go to the spreadsheet, and I'm going to type in some numbers. So, N, we're going to say N is equal to, and let's start with 9 numbers. 9 test scores. And each one of these test scores are called X. X of 1, X of 2, X of 3. So let's start with a 70, 72, 75, not 720. 75, 75, 82, 85, 90, and 95. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Now, from any given amount of numbers I give you for chapter 3, except for z-scores and except for 5-number summary, you're going to be asked to do the following things. You're going to find the mean. You're going to find the median. You're going to find the mode. You're going to find the range. You're going to find the mid-range. You're going to find the variance. And you're going to find the standard deviation. Now, most of y'all can do the first 5. Okay? Most of y'all can do that from past classes, or most of you can at least do the first 3, maybe. Okay? But when it gets to variance and standard deviation, some of you don't know how to do that. Now, I realize that some of y'all invented variance and standard deviation, but there are some that don't know how to do it. I want you to get your calculators out, and I want you to get as much as you can done in about 3 minutes. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to blow them up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. And so everything's still on the screen. There. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And what is mean? What is the mean also called? It's also called X bar. Now I want you to do everything by hand. I don't want you to hit the button I told you to hit. I don't want you to do that yet. Okay, I want you to do everything by hand. You know how to do the mean by hand. Now those of you that don't know the variance formula, I'm going to write it on the board if the board will cooperate. Variance is equal to the summation of x minus x bar, quantity squared, over n minus 1. And the standard deviation is equal to the square root of the variance. So if you can find the variance, you've got the standard deviation. All you got to do is take the square root of it or raise it to the 1/2 power. So write down that formula and make sure you can understand how to read that formula. Because after today, if you ask me, how did I do this or how did I do that on the spreadsheet, I'm going to refer back to the formula. The formula is like reading directions. You read it. And we're going to go through that in just a second. Now, this is going to make up, if I give you 20 questions on a test with, no, 25 questions on a test, with about 15 of them being math questions, the rest of them being bonus questions. Okay? I would say probably 3 to 5 are going to be like this. So make sure. Now, we're also going to be talking about the empirical rule. We're also going to be talking about 5-number summary and box plot. And we're also going to be talking about z-scores. But z-scores are going to be after this. Okay? So we're going to spend probably today and Thursday on just doing these problems. Now, would it behoove you to do, if I do 3 problems in class, would it behoove you to do 6 to 9 problems? Yes. So make sure you do extra problems either by similar question or make sure, because what are you going to be working on? Most of y'all can do the math here. What are you going to be working on? The speed it takes, the time that it takes for you to get the answer. As I tell my 13-year-old, you not only got to know the material, you got to what? You got to be able to do it in 50 minutes. Okay? Or whatever time I give you on a test. I give y'all all an hour and a half. So I give y'all 40 minutes extra. So you don't have what? The excuses. There's a footprint on your desk. Okay. You must have kids.
No.
Okay, you don't. Okay. Okay. Got a foot fetish up here. All right. So, mean. What is the mean? You add them all up and divide by 9. So I'm going to take my handy-dandy cursor. I gave y'all 4 minutes, but who's counting? I'm going to hit the summation bar, and I'm going to highlight all these numbers, and I'm going to go up here to the formula bar and type divided by 9. And that's what y'all should have. Now, I'm not rounding. Number 1 rule of mathematics and science. When do you round? That's the way I'm going to start teaching. Actually, Dr. Harden, he was my advisor at Clemson, and he was in the math sciences department, and he grunted. It was about, in fact, if you go to Clemson and you go down the bottom of Harden Hall, and you go down, and it wasn't the same Harden, all right? If you go down, he did teach there for 132 years. If you go down at the bottom, on the bottom basement floor, the office is on the basement. They got a little plaque beside his office, because when he died, they kind of posted a plaque, and they haven't used his office. So they left the office as is, which the office was about as big as a closet. That's the way he liked it. He didn't like a big office. He wanted a small office. He told me he wanted a small office so students wouldn't come into his office. He was funny, but he grunted. That meant you know how to do this. And he would sit in calculus, and he had one of these boards that slid all up. This was before the whiteboards, and it slid up, and there was about 4 boards, and they all slid up, and he would do one problem on 4 boards. And he would just get tired, and he would put 3 dots in a vertical line and go, that means you know how to do this. And you would have to cipher how he talked. So that's the way I'm going to start doing y'all. When y'all answer my questions, I'm going to start teaching y'all. What y'all think?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for whoever said yes and not. You ought to listen to my voicemails. I keep the ones that sound like they on live PD. Y'all think I'm kidding. I sent one to everybody in the building, all the faculty and staff. I forwarded it to everybody in the building. Not one person could figure out what they were saying. That's sad. What's the median? When I say median, what's the first thing that pops into your head? And don't say, well, the mathematical center, because you're a geek, okay? What is it? The middle of the road, that big old concrete thing in the middle of the road, or the grassy thing that's in the middle of the highway. Median is the middle. Now I'm going to highlight these three because I want you to highlight them. Because I'm going to teach you something you may not know. I'm going to highlight this one, dang old, per day. And I'm going to highlight this one per day. And I'm going to highlight this one per day. That means Hubert, shut the hell up.
Hi there.
Hi
It's
there.
currently 9:05 a.m.
It goes through the whole spiel.
38 degrees Fahrenheit. Today's high is 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and the low.
It's going to get up 60 today. All right. What do all three of those have in common? I'm sorry, what? They start with M. Good job. I tell you what. Did you go to West Side? Hannah? Oh, gosh. I tell you what. Gifted and talented. At West Side, I don't know what they would have said. But anyway, they're all representative. They're all representations of another word that starts with M. The middle. Write that down. They're all representations of the middle. Or, if you're a statistician, center. Okay? They're all representations of the middle. You each calculate, now, you each calculate them a different way. But statistics is all about the middle. When you're talking mathematically, you're going to compare usually everything to the middle. Now, put mid-range, center of number line, because that's what the mid-range is. Center of the number line. That's the best way to describe the mid-range. The median is the calculated center of the two numbers, of the center of the data. And the mean is the number that shows no variance. If those three numbers are close to each other, that means that your data is tight. It's not variance. It's not going all over the place. If those numbers are not close to each other, that means your data is what? All over the place. It's loose. It's sloppy. So, let's do the median. Well, if the median, and I'm going to stop at the median. If the median is odd, if N is odd, if N is odd, you average the middle two numbers and divide by 2. So here I've got 9. So I'm going to average, let's see, 3, 3. I'm going to average those two numbers and divide, I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. So go ahead and do that. Somebody tell me what you get. 75 plus 82 divided by 2. What do you get? What?
So why is it not 75?
What did you say?
Why is it not 75?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I just did the wrong thing. Even. Sorry. You're right. You're 100% right. Even though I couldn't hear you twice. Okay? There. Thank you. If it's odd, if N is odd, you just pick the middle term. You just pick the middle term. So in this case, 75. Now, what is the mid-range? The highest plus the lowest divided by what? 2. So go ahead and find that one. And then we're going to stop. We're going to show you one thing, and then we're going to stop. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight this one. Let me erase, well, I'm going to highlight that yellow. I'm about ready to lose it. Maybe one day. I'm going to highlight that yellow, and that number is this, after I was corrected. Thank you. And that's equal to this number there. And the mid-range is equal to, parentheses, the highest number plus the lowest number divided by what? 2. Now, I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to change some numbers. 70, 71, 71, 72, 72, 75, 75, 80, and 81. Look at those 3 numbers. Well, let me erase this right quick. Whatever, just get out of here. All right, look at those numbers. 74, 72, 75. They're kind of what? Close together. Let me put 100 down here. What happened to our numbers? Let me put a 50 right here. What's happening to our numbers? They're changing. All right? They're changing because the numbers are not tight. Change this back to 70. Change this to an 81. Okay? When those 3 numbers are close together, that means your data is tight. When they're far apart, that means your data is all over the place. All right, that's a good stopping point.